I wanted to ask you about the Indianapolis because that was actually one of the similar to Prophets of Doom, both in the sense that I absolutely loved it and that I was only vaguely aware of it. I've of course seen Jaws, where Robert Shaw mentions,
I
the the
love
the,
that. Don't
the,
you
the
love that
doll's
scene?
eye.
Now,
Um,
that's one of my favorite scenes ever.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I was aware that what he was saying was a true story, but that's it. I didn't know any further detail. And so your episode on the Indianapolis was excellent. And I just wondered, one again, why you particularly picked that? Was there any particular reason? And but also whether you had any foreboding about it, because of course there's survivors, aren't there still? And I know you've mentioned that. I know you've talked about it before, but that one is a particularly sort of terrible story, isn't it? It's particularly harrowing. And I wondered if you had any sort of misgivings before you did it.
We get the survivor thing in more stories than you would think. We had it on Ghosts of the Ostfront quite a bit, and
Yeah.
that was my first real feedback from participants, and I had not expected it because you think, okay, well, those people are all old or gone. No, they're not. They're still around, and they speak English, or their grandchildren speak English, and so it was fascinating actually to get some of that feedback. And lucky for yours truly, it was positive, but it could have easily been the other way. On the Indianapolis story, the best way to describe the Indianapolis is that, if you're Australian, um, something like the Kokoda Track or the Kokoda Trail battles are enormously important in Australia, and they hardly know about them in the United States. There's lots of things like that, right? In the
Mm.
United States, the Indianapolis story is pretty well known because of one, it's so horrifying, but two, there's always been a connection to, and they mentioned that in Jaws in the monologue, Robert Shaw's monologue, was the connection to the delivering of the atomic bomb and the connection to the fact that had they not been on a secret mission, those men probably would have been discovered and it would have been realized that their ship had sunk a long time previously and they would have not spent all that time in the water. So there was a direct connection to the fact that they were on a secret mission to deliver the atomic bomb and the fact that their experience turns out to be horrible because, for those who don't know the Indianapolis story, there's a lot of elements to it, but all you have to know is a bunch of men get their ship sunk, have to spend a lot of days in the waters, the sharks find them, and they get to stay there while hundreds of men are being taken by the sharks day after day. And you have to live. I mean, it's one of those experiences where if you want to try to imagine nightmarish scenarios that you might find yourself in, and depending on what bothers you the most,
Mm.
shark attacks are one of the things on my list that I don't like. Really, really, really don't like. That's your worst nightmare come true. And I didn't worry so much about blowback from veterans because all we're doing with the veterans is really, really, really going, oh my God, how did these people endure this? So
Mm.
there's nothing, I don't think there's anything insulting about that.
Oh
I think
no,
in
no,
some,
no.
no, but I mean, so I think in some ways, they'd rather have people talking about that than to have people forget what the hell, not just what they went through, but the people that never came home from that experience, that the people who did come home from that experience would like to think would never be forgotten, you know?
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
really convoluted answer. I apologize.
No, no, appreciate it.
You know the thing about a shark? He's got lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eyes. When he comes at you, he doesn't seem to be living until he bites you. And those black eyes roll over white, and then... Oh, then you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming. The ocean turns red, and in spite of all the pounding and the hollering, they all come in and they rip you to pieces.